AME Raven Korean edition. Let's talk about it. This unit was sent to me by a friend from Head-Fi. He goes by Music Clouds, great guy, and a lot of stuff that I've got as of late has been sent from him, and I want to say I really appreciate you and all that you've done for the channel. AME has two different versions of the Raven. It has this version right here that you can find on Music Tech with a black and a multi kind of purple level color. And it's kind of an expensive IEM, as you can see, raking at a little over $3,000. Now, AME does have a lot of other IEMs. I haven't seen a whole lot about them, but I do know a lot of other companies hold their products, and you can see that they have some other products here on Music Tech. So this is a 6BA 4EST driver IEM that is very expensive. For various reasons, thanks to Music Clouds and other people, I've been fortunate enough to be able to demo some very expensive IEMs as of late. And it's just been kind of how things have worked out. And these are the ones that are the least expensive for me to do and the ones that I've been interested in reviewing. So we will be trying to get some more affordable stuff for you guys later. So this is, it's an interesting IEM. Expensive. But is it good, and what exactly is this IEM? Let's start by talking about build quality, and then we'll go from there. This is a fantastically premium and plush case. It's leather with a great zipper. It's actually very similar to the case that's used on the Camper 622B and on the Afu Cantor that we've reviewed on channel as of late. Great case. Normally, cables are an afterthought or something that I switch out, but this is one of the prettiest and most premium cables I've ever seen. It's really juicy and thick. You can see it's multi-wired cable and has a nice premium look to it. Has wooden Y-split and a chin slider that doesn't move around. It feels amazing on hand, and I just can't tell you what a great IEM cable this is, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. One of the best cables I've ever used. Now, the IEM itself is nice. It is a little bit larger than I might like, but it's not bad. We're actually going to be doing weight measurements and showing a little diagram of what this looks like shape-wise. But it's a nice shelled IEM. It has a nice wing, a good nozzle that easily fits ear tips on it, and it fits in my ear with no problem. Very nice feeling nozzle, and I really like the shell and look of this IEM. It just feels and exudes premiumness, has a nice little Raven written on it. It's very bright and luminescent, and I just really like the design of this IEM. And here's kind of the general shape of the Afu Magic 1 and the Raven, just to kind of get a look of how much space they take. The shell weighs 6.37 grams. The Afu Magic 1 weighs 4.12 grams. Now, this is a different style IEM. This is an IEM that, if you think about sound as something where it's either bass heavy or air heavy, this is a little bit more air and treble heavy and slanted of a tilt. Vocals seem to be a little bit delicate and airy for my needs. Guitar plucks also feel a little bit lighter and sharper than I'd like. I feel on certain types of music, like disco music or electronic music, this does a really great job and excels, and it becomes an exceptionally fun, engaging IEM. It's a very fun IEM to listen to, but it does have some faults and some interesting things that I want to talk about here in the graph section. All right, as we look at the FR graph of the AME Raven KR edition, you'll notice it fits my target pretty well in a lot of areas, but not very well in some areas. There's a lot of different issues, but it has a very pleasing, appealing sound, despite it being a little bit different. A couple things to note. this area right here, the 5 to 600 region. You'll see it more eminently with some different IEMs and also the bass light region right here. You'll notice a lot of energy around this 1.5 to 1K region and a little bit of region of air right here around 4K. Has a nice dip from 4 to 6K, and that's really nice and pretty good extension. It does a lot right, but it also does some things that make it a little bit different and a different style approach. So we're going to talk about those as we go through. The first thing I want to talk about is the one that this reminds me the most of FR-wise is probably the Aria 2. You'll notice these are really, really similar. You notice the Aria 2 doesn't have that 4K, just tiny itty bitty bump. It also has a little bit less energy here. But other than that, a lot of things on these two IEMs are the same. So if you're a fan of the Kato or something like the Moondrop Aria 2, this could be an IEM that you would really like. I think this could be something that would be a great value and a that similar kind of profile. Not exactly, but something kind of in that ballpark range that might be something you might want to check out and really enjoy. A few other ones I want to look at. The one that's this really reminded me of, is the Elysian Acoustics Lab Diva. This is the red edition, the lowest bass region. And what you'll notice is that, again, there's a little bit of a dip here. You'll notice a little bit more energy around that 1 to 5K region, but it kind of shares that same hump here you'll see with the Diva. Something interesting to look at is the Australia. And Jay's Australia kind of has that same sort of 4K rise right here, which really makes it a really interesting, beautiful set in that regard. So it has that little additional rise, which I think helps with some vocals. And so that's kind of an interesting tuning note of something that I haven't really noticed until the Australia. But now that I compare it to stuff like the Diva and the AME Raven, it kind of brings that out, and I find that to be an interesting fact and something to be a positive note that can kind of help with soundstage. And the soundstage in the AME Raven is really exceptional. Another one this kind of reminded me of was the Soft Ears Twilight. Notice the Soft Ears Twilight kind of has that more meta style tuning, about the same bass shelf, but just something to note. But kind of that similar bass rise to mids. Not a huge similarity, but just something a little bit similar. And I thought I'd share that with you. Another one to look at is the Fei 1. They both kind of have similar bass shelves, but notice how much more of this 1K to 4K region that the AME Raven has. It's kind of it's a treble heavy set that's not really for people that are neutral heads. Like if you're a bass head, I wouldn't recommend this set. And if you were looking for something that's a little bit more neutral, I wouldn't recommend this either. It's a little bit unique. Let's look at something that a lot of people call kind of a treble focus set, which would be the Annihilator. But if you look at the Annihilator, it's almost like it's tilted dark, like it has a ton more bass right through here. It has way less treble through this whole region here, and it becomes a different approach to sound. And I think, if you really want that more kind of a trebly peak and you're looking for a little bit more of that kind of a soundstage feeling, something like the AME Raven could be something for you. Personally, I like the Annihilator better, but that's just me. Another one to look at, like one of my favorite IEMs around this price is or not even around this price, it's actually a lot cheaper, is the High Senior Mega 5 EST bass. I guess they just talked about the High Senior HBB collab is coming up, which is going to be at this tuning, maybe a little bit easier to get. But you'll just notice you have a little bit more flat mids, you have a lot more bass shelf, you have a little bit later gain for treble presence. I really like that tuning, but again, it's not perfect, and it can come across shouty in certain tracks and in certain ways, but they vary ever so slightly, and it's just a little bit more of like a vocal forward presentation. I wanted to look at was the Awful Cantor. Notice the Cantor is a little bit more flat, has a little bit more raised sub bass, which I really like. It just kind of has an overall different approach to sound, being a little bit more neutral and kind of air focused. I like the tuning of the Cantor a little bit better, and I think it's a little bit more what I've kind of grown to love. Like this increased bass shelf to me, like the bass overall and just the overall dynamics of the Cantor comes across better for me and for what I personally like. Although, like, you know, even on this graph, the Raven looks way more V-shaped and has a ton more treble right there. And that's, you know, just something to kind of show you. For me, I wanted to actually talk about two different EQs. And the first EQ is just a slight bass tilt. Like, I think sometimes a little bit of EQ can help make an IEM better. And for me, I really enjoyed having a little bit of bass here. And I found that it still had some of the organic temperatures of the Raven, and it still came across very, very special and very unique, but it kind of got rid of some of the brightness tones and kind of simmered out some of that spiky almost treble. And for me, this EQ helped a little bit, just adding a little bit of a bass shelf right through here in this sub bass region. Okay, so we did do a full EQ as well to my target, and I feel like this was a lot better, but it kind of lost some of that magic of what the Raven did. With this little bit of EQ, it helped simmer down the treble, but when I changed this, it kind of changed that presence to upper mids and that presence region a little bit too much for me. And it was a nice tune, but it just seemed like it lacked a little bit of something. I do think EQ is an important thing for you guys to mess with, but the problem I think is after a certain point, I don't really feel that you should have to EQ an IEM. EQing is something that's like, if you have a headphone that's really comfortable and you love it and that's something you want to try to kind of keep the longevity of it, that's something better to do. But I didn't want to show these profiles to you and tell you that I both think, you know, this one improved it, you know, probably about 10%, and this one improved it about 5%, but still gave it some of its own unique characteristics. Let's rank this thing up. I think the AME Raven is a solid IEM, especially for non-bass head lovers. I think its unique presentation that, like, you know, its price for what it is expensive, but it does a lot well. It's not a bass head IEM, but it has nice present upper mids and great detail and air. As far as its like technical ability goes, I think it's strong. I think it images well. I think it needs more note weight. It needs more punch. It needs a little bit more dynamics. And that feels fixed with just that brief EQ that I gave on the first one. I feel like it really improves the AME Raven and really makes it kind of a fun, majestic experience. I think the one thing that Raven does well is great soundstage. It reminds me a lot of the Diva in a lot of regards, and it has a nice overall presentation to sound that I think a lot of people are going to like. It sounds great and has great detail and resolution. Is it something that I personally would go for? Probably not, but I definitely respect this and can see how some people might want to go for the AME Raven. It's a unique presentation for sure. You know, premium headphones are kind of funny. You think they're going to be this say-all, end-all, be-all to sound, but oftentimes they have unique flair and feeling about them. They're almost not monitor-like, but kind of meant to be almost a luxury item or a thing of beauty. This is a beautiful IEM. Great cable, great case. Shell looks really, really unique, and I think people are going to like it that get to try it. Again, this isn't for me or for bass heads, but for people who want an airier presentation with great soundstage, this is a fantastic IEM despite its price. If you're looking for airy soundstage, I think there's other ones that would be a little bit closer to what I would want, like the new Estrella. I think is a really quite a remarkable IEM, especially if that's kind of what you're chasing in soundstage. Thanks for watching my little review. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a great day. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?